All right, everybody, welcome back. For today's deep dive, we're going to tee up something I know a lot of you are obsessed with, and that's shaving strokes off your golf game. And you know what they say, drive for show, but putt for dough. So today we're diving deep, no pun intended, into the fascinating world of the physics of putting.
That's right. And get this, we're not just talking about your grandpa's putting tips here. We are diving into some cutting-edge research fresh from the WSCG 2024 conference.
Okay, now you've got to give me the lowdown on this. WSCG.
So that's the World Scientific Congress of Golf. Basically, it's where the biggest brains in golf get together to talk all things science and golf.
Wow, okay, so like what kind of stuff are they geeking out over at a golf science conference?
Well, in this case, they were looking at putting. Specifically, how we can use physics to understand it better, maybe even predict those tricky putts.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So we all know putting is important, but what makes it so hard to, pin down scientifically?
It's deceptively complex. Think about it. You've got green speed, the slope of the grain, the putter face, how hard you hit the ball, not to mention things like the grass itself. It's a lot of variables interacting all at once.
You're telling me I've lost plenty of strokes to misreading a green. So where do these researchers even begin with, like, a physics-based approach to putting?
Right. Well, they wanted to see if they could find a way to predict the true length of a putt on any slope.
Okay, so, like, being able to calculate how much farther the ball will travel downhill versus on a flat green, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Taking the guesswork out of those sloping putts.
Now that would be a game changer. Imagine being able to perfectly adjust your putting power based on the slope. No more leaving those downhill putts way short or overshooting those tricky uphill ones.
Exactly. This research could really help golfers add some science to their strategy on the green. And it all starts with understanding the actual physics of how a golf ball behaves on a slope.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. Break it down for me.
So we often think of putting as just rolling the ball, right?
Yeah, nice and smooth. Watch it drop right in the cup.
Right, but it's more than meets the eye. A putt actually involves two distinct phases, sliding and rolling.
Wait, sliding? I thought we were talking about putting, not shuffling a hockey puck.
You're right, but right after the putter hits the ball actually skids across the green for a tiny bit before it starts that smooth roll we want. And the time spent in each of these phases, sliding versus rolling, is incredibly important.
Okay, I think I see where this is going. How does the slope of the green come into play?
This is key. The ratio of sliding time to rolling time is significantly affected by the slope.
So you're saying that even a small change in slope can really throw off my distance control.
That's exactly right. And to really understand why this matters, we've got to look at some data they collected using some seriously impressive technology.
Oh, I love when high-tech gadgets get involved. Don't hold back. What kind of setup did they use?
They used a system called Quintic Ball Roll. It's professional-level equipment that can analyze putting strokes in amazing detail.
Wow, okay, now I'm impressed. So what kind of insights were they able to get from all of this?
You are not ready for this. So they found that on a green, rolling at a speed of 10.5 feet.
Hold on a second. For us folks who don't speak fluent golf course, how do you even measure green speed?
Good point. It's called a stimp meter. Basically, a tool to standardize the speed of a green. So a 10.5-foot stimp meter reading means a pretty fast green.
Got it. Fast green. So what happens on this speedy green?
They found that on a 3% downhill slope, the ball spent about 8% of the total putt distance sliding and a whopping 92% rolling.
Okay, so even downhill, most of the distance is covered while it's rolling, like we said.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. A 3% uphill slope on that same green totally flipped the ratio. 20% sliding and only 80% rolling.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Wow, that's a much bigger difference than I would have thought. Suddenly, those uphill putts that always seem to have a mind of their own are making a lot more sense.
It's not just you. It all goes back to that initial sliding phase. The more sliding, the less predictable it is, especially at the start.
So it's like that initial skid throws off the ball's whole trajectory.
It's all about energy transfer. When it's sliding, it's losing energy to friction on the green, not going into forward momentum. Once it's rolling, it's much more predictable because now that energy is directly going into the distance.
Well, you're saying those short uphill putts where I can never seem to get the pace right, it's not just me overthinking it. The physics actually backs me up.
The physics is on your side. Now let's shift gears for a sec and think about how we can actually use this.
Yes. Give me the actionable insights. What can I do with this knowledge?
Well, they took all this data, crunched the numbers, and developed something they call a correction factor.
A correction factor. Okay, I'm listening.
Basically, it's a way to calculate how much to adjust your putting distance based on the slope, considering this whole sliding and rolling thing.
So if I see a 3% downhill slope, I can use this correction factor to figure out exactly how much harder I need to hit the ball. That's the idea, yeah.
Okay.
Now, full disclosure, the formula they came up with, initially a little complicated. A lot of variables, some intense math. Not exactly something you can whip out on the green.
Yeah, I'm more of a see ball, hit ball kind of golfer.
Yeah.
Not big on calculus during my backswing.
Right, totally. Good news is these researchers, they're golfers too. They simplified things.
Okay, it involves focusing on that rolling phase, right? You got it. They realized that for most golfers, focusing on the roll and how the slope impacts that's the key. Simpler formula, still crazy accurate.
Now, that's what I'm talking about, usable knowledge. So how do we actually put this into action?
This is the cool part. They took this simplified formula, and guess what? They turned it into an app.
An app? No way, seriously?
Yep. It's called Puttalize.
Yeah.
Takes this whole correction factor thing to a whole new level.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Right.
What's so special about this Puttalize app?
So it's not just about slope. This thing analyzes those crazy curve putts, too. You know, the ones with those subtle breaks that mess you up.
Wait, so you're telling me this app is like having a physics pro right there on the green, guiding my every putt?
Basically. Takes all that complex science, the sliding, the rolling, all of it, breaks it down into something any golfer can use. It's amazing.
I've got to hand it to these researchers. They really went above and beyond. Not only did they figure all this out, but they actually found a way to make it practical for us regular golfers.
Absolutely.
This is what I love about these deep dives, always uncovering these hidden
It's
gems.
fascinating stuff, right?
Totally. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the physics of putting. Remember, folks, next time you're on the green, there's a whole lot of science happening right under your feet. Choose wisely. May your putts always find the bottom of the cup.